the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a die-hard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. I want to thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me. Please subscribe. The number of subscribers impacts how much YouTube promotes the video, so more people will get to see it. So please subscribe. What a game tonight. We lost 124 to 117 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are the best team in the West, the second best record in the whole NBA, and they are an incredible defensive team. They have the best defensive record in the fewest points allowed per game and lowest field goal percentage, so they are tough. And we scored 40 points on them in the first quarter, but we lost 124 to 117. And so, and the big part of it is we scored on them 40 points in the first quarter, but they were 15 for 30 on threes. So I think that was a big deciding point. You know, how many times did they shoot 15 for 30? And it wasn't just that our defense was bad, they just knocked them down. All our players knocked them down. Towns was 5 for 5 on threes. So, but this game was not like a lot of our losses. We've had some disappointing losses where we played bad, but this game we came with energy. We played hard. We played smart. We played together. We played without Cade, and we still did well. So it was a good game. And one bad thing that happened is Stu hurt his foot, his toe maybe again. So that would be, he's been playing really well. He had 3 great blocks tonight, 1 on Edwards and I think 2 on Towns. But it was the Jaden Ivey show tonight. 32 points. He tied his career high. And what do you have to say about him, Monty? Now you're going to say, oh, yeah, he's really improved. We worked on things or whatever. But you know what? He was really good before the season started. And you sat him down and you messed with his mind. And he's showing, since the organizational meeting, the team had to sit down and talk to him. And, he put the ball in his hands. And we went on a 13-2 run in the third quarter with Asar and Ivey out there, with Asar running the point and cut the lead to 3. So, yeah, it was just mind-boggling. You guys have all wanted him to play more. You guys have all thought it was, coaching malpractice for the way Ivey was treated, and he's proving you right, and he was huge tonight. He shot it about almost 60%, and he made his 3-pointers. He was just tremendous, 4 for 6 on threes. So this is what it's about. I keep saying it, but our young players developing and getting a chance. And is he going to play like this every night? No, he's not. But since the organizational meeting, he's been averaging over 25 points and shooting 50% and 6 rebounds and 6 assists. I'm just saying, he's a really good player. And, I did mention about DeJounte Murray trading to the Hawks for DeJounte Murray and that he would be a good fit alongside Cade. But so would Jaden Ivey. And so if that's what it takes to get him, I'm not sure right now. But DeJounte Murray hit a shot at the buzzer tonight to beat Orlando. So he's a great player. Big trade today. Siakam finally got traded, and he got traded for 3 first-round picks and Bruce Brown and some other stuff. But I certainly hope that the Pacers have an agreement worked out. Siakam had come out and said that he wasn't going to sign or agree to sign with anybody until the end of the year. He wanted to be a free agent and explore the market and see what he could get. And so I don't know if they just said, well, we're going to give you the max. And he is a good fit there with their team. And, that's going to be a fun team to watch. But it's still, trade market's heating up. So that's a cool thing. So we'll see what happens from here. But it's just a bummer, though. There was, the foul thing again. We don't get respected. Ivey was 2 for 2 on free throws. He shot 2 free throws, and he shot 22 times, and he had 6 assists. He was attacking the basket constantly, and he got fouled. You could see he got fouled. But there was a big swing in the game. The game was still in the balance, and then all of a sudden we throw an alley-oop to Duren. He goes up over the rim, and they just smack him on the arm, right across the arm, just as clear as can be. No foul. Then we go down the other end, and they hit a shot right away. And so that swung the game. And then all of a sudden, Ivey drives to the basket. He touches, I don't know if it's Towns or Gobert, but they call an offensive foul on him. He hit them with the basketball. He was just making a normal basketball play, drives to the basket. The ball hits those guys. They call an offensive foul on Jaden. and so that took away. Should have been 2 free throws for him. Burks got fouled. And there's about fouls, 4 bad calls that went against us in like a 2-minute stretch. They reviewed it. Burks got called. They called the foul on Minnesota, Conley, I think, and then Burks went up for the shot, so he was going to get 2 shots. Minnesota challenged it, and they ruled that he didn't get touched that hard when he shot. And the truth is, maybe he didn't. But you know what? The replay clearly shows he got grabbed a second before he got into a shot. They grabbed him, and they didn't call a foul. But that's just life in the Piston world, I guess. So um, Duren has been really great lately, and again, that's the thing. This stretch has shown us, in the last 10 games, he's been averaging like 17 points, 12 rebounds, and shooting 72%. So, and he's one of only 4 players to get 20 points and shoot 100% from the floor and get 19 rebounds. There's only 4 players in history, and he's one of them. And he's, I'm sure, the youngest one. He's still just barely turned 21. So, when we look at this, we won that game against the Wizards, and it's fun to win. But the reality is, Burks was unreal, and he made 8 out of 12 threes, I think, and so he's had a lot of bad games this year that we would have won if he would have shot even his normal percentages. So anyway, the first 22 games, he started out red hot. For first 4 games he was on fire. I said he was our second best player, and then but even including those 4 games where he started out on hot, the first 22 games total of the season, he's averaging 9 points, 33% from the floor, 33% on threes, which is bad. And then last 11 games, he's not including tonight, he's averaged 19 points, 50%, over 50% from the floor, 50% on threes. Plus, he does his thing. Even tonight, he didn't shoot well, but he draws his fouls. So we got to see Mike Muscala tonight, and he just came on with the team. He seems like a good guy. He seems like a pretty smart player, but he's been struggling all year. He doesn't get to play much, so it's hard when a player struggles and they play every other game or here and there, and they play a few minutes and they don't get up many shots. It's really hard to gauge a person's shooting percentage, but he is shooting 27%, and tonight he was 0 for 4 and 0 for 3 on threes. He blocked 2 shots that looked good, and maybe he can help us. But my thought was we had nothing for Gobert. He's just so much bigger than Duren and anybody else we have, and we didn't play Weissman. So I was a little bit surprised at that, but I'm sure Monty wanted probably to use his new toy. Gallinari didn't get to play at all. But if you look at Gallinari, tell me if he doesn't look like Keanu Reeves. I think he does. But so Bogey, 32 minutes. It seemed like he did worse. He was 7 for 13, which is really good, and 3 for 7 on threes, which is really good. 3 for 4 on free throws. He passed up some open shots, and he missed some wide open threes, and you just expect him to be automatic with him. He's such a great shooter, but he had 5 rebounds. Again, he's been rebounding consistently. Good. 3 assists. Good. Block shot. And only 1 turnover and 20 points. So really nice game for Bogey. And, is he on the trade market? Are we going to trade him? Here's the thing about the trade, and we're going to talk more about trades later, but I just, even if it would be better for our future, I got a feeling that we might not want to trade Bogey or Burks, because I think that we don't want to have the worst record in history. And I think that, if we have the worst record in history and whatever, I think that Troy knows that he would be fired. So I worried that we might not trade him even if we get a good offer, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So Stu, crushing thing is he played so well. He's 25 minutes, and then he had to leave the game, and he was out over there with this band on his foot, stretching his toe and stuff. But he's missed a bunch of games, and then he came back, and our team is better with him on the court. I mean, I've always said that I think that if we have a really good team someday, he would be an asset coming off the bench, and I still believe that. But right now, we don't have enough good players, so he is an asset no matter when he's on the court. But he was 4 for 9, 2 for 5 on threes, 2 for 2 from the line, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, but 3 blocks. And I mean, he made some on Towns, drove the lane, and he got up so high twice. He had 3 great blocks, and I think 2 were on Towns and 1 was on Edwards. But he really timed it just right, and he's a great matchup for Towns. but it hurt that if he's going to be out now for a while, and they're probably going to have to really wait. If it's the same injury that's reoccurred, that's going to be tough for him. We're already waiting on Cade. Cade is, I never know when they say 7 to 10 days. Is that 7 days from that he'll be re-evaluated? Is that 7 days from when he first got injured, or is it when is that? Is it from the day that they mention it, which might be a day or two after the game? But so today would be 7 days. Today would be the seventh day since he had the injury, so he should be reevaluated any day now. But I was hoping he'd be back sooner than later. But um, did you ever notice with Bogey, by the way, when they show the guys before the games, they show the guys walking into the arena, and Bogey has the coolest outfits. There's all these guys, high fashion guys that have even designers that pick out their clothes before games. I think Westbrook has that, and Harden wears all these cool clothes, and a lot of people really they NBA players take a lot of pride in how they dress up when they're coming into the arena and the cameras are there. But Bogey, he wears some goofy stuff sometimes. But I mean, I give him credit for he's comfortable in his own skin. So, like I said, Duran's been on fire. He's been playing so great, and he's back to his normal self. And he's had 31 minutes, 8 for 14, even playing against Rudy Gobert and Towns and those big guys. And he only got one free throw. So how does that happen? But he was 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 turnovers, 4 fouls. But a guy was coming on a break, and early in the third quarter, I think 7 minutes left in the third quarter, and he gets his 4th foul. And he has a chance to, you can run at a player, try to contest it, and make sure that you do not foul. He had time to think about it. Sometimes you just react, and sometimes you're just going to foul. But he knew that was going to be his 4th foul. Then he has to go to the bench, and we are challenged down there right now. So that was hurtful. So we ended up with 16 points. And the man of the day, the man of the hour, Jaden Ivey, 36 minutes, a lot of minutes, but he just competed at a high level and so efficient. 13 for 22. He took a couple shots that were a little bit more difficult that he missed maybe towards the end of the game because we were desperate mode, I think. But he 4 for 6 on threes, 2 for 2 from the line, which how does he only get 2 free throws like I mentioned already? 4 rebounds, 6 assists. He got a steal and only 2 turnovers. And one of the turnovers was when they called the offensive foul. That's a turnover. When he put the ball and the ball touched one of the Timberwolves' faces, then that was called an offensive foul. So he would have had only 1 turnover. So 32 points, though, like I said, it tied his career high. He had the best plus minus by far, +8. Most of our guys had minus. But he made some great passes. He made for sure 2 passes that should have been easy shots. He made this one give and go with Duran, and Duran ends up dunking it. That was just a beautiful play. Just bang, bang, bang. Those two have great chemistry together. I've seen some times when Sasser and Asar have good chemistry together. But anyway, Killian had a really good game. Really good game. He doesn't look to score, but he was 4 for 4 tonight. 26 minutes, 1 rebound, 8 assists, and 0 turnovers. So we'll take that. We just got to decide what we're going to do about the guard position. Monty Morris is still not back. I still don't hear anything about him playing. And we just got huge decisions whether you are going to re-sign Killian, whether you think Sasser is going to be somebody. What are we going to do with Burks? If we take him to the end of the year, we're going to want to re-sign him. What is he going to want? What is there going to be? He's an unrestricted free agent, so we're going to have to compete against people. I don't know. It's just going to be fascinating to me to what happened, but we need to know by the end of the year. We have about half the season left to go, so we'll see what happens. But Knox played. Oh no, let's go with Asar. Asar 22 minutes, so he got to play some down the stretch, and I was really proud of Monty for playing him some down the stretch. He still only played 22 minutes. He got to play 27 the other day, and I want him to play 27 to 30 minutes. I want him to see him play because he just does stuff. He just does stuff. In 22 minutes, he had 9 rebounds. But sadly, I mean, it's just I had one of my listeners. They sent me a picture on Twitter of his left hand completely behind the ball, and it's just not going to work, and somebody's got to show him. And it was a perfect shot. The guy, one of my listeners, was down at one of the games, and he just took the shot at halftime. And he works so hard on those corner threes, and so tonight he's wide open. Those guys just play way off him, and I still say, drive the ball to the basket, even if they're playing way off you, make them guard you. And he's 1 for 5 on free throws, and that's a killer. But again, we just have to find out about what kind of player he's going to be. He had a block, and he did a great job on Anthony Edwards. And again, you can't. I know there's probably some breakdown of how Edwards did when he was guarding him, but I guarantee you it was way worse. I think Ivy did a great job on him one possession on Edwards too, but Edwards was on fire. And if you watch the game, you got to see Michael Jordan. I believe he can fly. Edwards took off from way back, and he cocked it way far back, and he dunked it. It looked like, reminded me of Michael Jordan. But um, Edwards had 27 points, but they weren't against Ausar. He did a great job on him. So um, Knox was 21 minutes, 2 for 3, 1 for 2 on threes, 1 rebound, minus 13, 2 assists. But good game. We like I said, he's not we need to get good enough and have good enough players that he is on our bench and doesn't get to play. But I still, like I said, I would sign him for a lowest grade contract. He's still young. He still can get better, and he still can do some stuff. But Muscala, 15 minutes, 0 for 4, 0 for 3 on threes. Like I said, he's a 27% shooter this year on threes, which probably real low volume. 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He had 2 blocks, and he's not an athlete. He can't really move and guard, but you can tell he's smart. You can tell he tries real hard, and those were impressive blocks. But Burks, he's been just smoking, but he played 20 minutes, 3 for 10, 1 for 4 on threes, but he still got to line 5 for 5 on free throws. So that 12 points, but how is the game different? Like I said, a lot of these games, if Bojan had some bad games that we barely lost, and just as they're not perfect, they're not robots, but it's hard for us to win these close games when they don't play well. So Sasser, 12 minutes. First half he played, I don't know how much he played, but he played at least 6 minutes, I think, and he had 4 turnovers. He ended up with 4 turnovers, but he was 2 for 2. I don't think he made a shot in the first half. 1 for 2 on threes. He made that right at the end of the game when we went to our bench, but he had he had 5 points. But we shot 52%. We moved the ball really well. We passed the ball really well. It was fun to watch. We shot 39% on threes, which normally would be, I think, a winning formula. And 12 turnovers and 39% on threes, that should win the game for us. But we were 13 for 19 on free throws, and most of those misses were Ausar, 68%. They shot 51%, but again, 15 for 30 on threes. So it's hard to top that. They were 15 for 21 on free throws. And rebounding they out rebounded us by 2, and we passed the ball really well. We had 30 assists, which is really good. They had Jaden McDaniels. I don't know if you really paid attention. He kind of flies under the radar, but he had 23 points. So he usually only averages like 10 or 12. He's getting paid a gazillion dollars, like 120 million over 4 years or something. But he is the prototypical player that we need. He's like 6'9" or 6'10", plays great defense, but tonight he was 8 for 11 and 3 for 4 on threes. And he's a high percentage shooter. He shoots over 50% and about 40% on threes, but he usually doesn't get a lot of shots because he plays with Towns and Edwards. So Towns had 27 points, but he had 5 for 5 on threes. He said he proclaimed himself to be the best 3-point shooting big man in history. So he got a lot of people laughed at that, but he's a character. So anyway, I'm going to tell you my favorite trade. And again, a lot of things can happen. I'm sure it's never going to happen, but this would be my favorite trade. Is at the end of the year. Again, I talked about this before. We can't trade our first draft pick right now. So we can't. If we end up getting the number 1 draft pick, we'll know that before the draft. But once they do the lottery, we know where our pick is. We could trade our first round pick to Utah for John Collins and Taylor Hendricks. So John Collins is 6'9", can shoot the 3, can defend. He's been playing. They've been killing it though. And he's been a big part of it. And they've been playing him at the 5 a lot of the times. So, I don't know how much available he will be. Earlier in the year, they were really down on him, and so I thought we might be able to get him for not much. But Taylor Hendricks is a player I wanted really bad last year in the draft, and he's not getting minutes right now. But if Danny Ainge wants those first round picks and a high first round pick, and there's somebody in the draft he wants, we would have to throw in a bunch of stuff to match Collins' contract, and so I don't know how easy that's to do. And there's still the trades. Again, I don't know if we want to trade Bogey because we don't want to have the worst record, but I think that probably right at the trade deadline, a lot of these teams are desperate. They got to be desperate. There's teams that are struggling and teams again that have lots of ups and downs, and like the Lakers, and there's the Rui trade, and I know the Knicks could use some more shooting, and so they could use Bogey, and Atlanta wants to reduce some of their salaries, and so Bogey's a great guy for somebody to trade for. He gives you options. You don't have to. You can get him for the rest of this year for the playoff run, and then if you decide we don't want his money on the contract, we can they can trade him for. They can let him go and buy him out. It's like $2 million only for next year, or if he plays for you, then he makes 20 million. So there's a lot of the numbers thrown out there, and it's always confusing about the salary cap and people saying we're 50 million over the salary cap or 60 million. Well, we're a little over 50 million if we keep Bogey. If we don't keep Bogey, then we're going to be like 65 million over the cap. So that'll make a difference. Just want to throw out there to you this people about Wiseman and Bagley that again their defense isn't great. They frustrate people, but we got rid of Bagley, but per 36 minutes. So if they were to play 36 minutes a game, Wiseman's stats would be 15 points, 68% shooting, which doesn't change no matter how many minutes you play, 10 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks. That's a good player if you have your center average that. But again, defense is something and whatever. But Bagley, we just got rid of him, but 20 points. If he played 36 minutes a game, he would average 20 points, 59% from the floor, and 9 rebounds. So that's a good player. So they're not, they just played such minimal minutes on the Pistons, like 15 minutes or 13 minutes or whatever. So like I said, I think that the trade deadline things are heating up. I think things are going to happen sooner than later. Again, I say buy low and sell high, but I don't want to sell. I'm a believer in Ivy, and tonight, really, it's one game, but anyway, we got to play the Bucks on Saturday. It's a 3 o'clock game, so that's a good thing for me, so that I can get this podcast out to you earlier. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate every one of you. I appreciate the comments. Please be the reason that somebody feels cared for and heard, and go Pistons.